because we are not getting sufficient answers, and we're not getting a sufficient response to protect not only the air and the climate and the waters, but also our citizens who really suffer. I mean, you cannot have an uninterrupted conversation during the summertime, in Dumbo, in particular, along the waterfront here in Lower Manhattan. That this is an issue that many of the New York and New Jersey electeds recognize. Senator Schumer has signed on to our letter. Congresswoman Velasquez, Ocasio-Cortez, Congressman Espaillat, and Congressman Bill Pascrell from over in New Jersey all have signed on to this letter because we all agree that we're not getting the significant answers that we need, and that the resolution that our citizens deserve. So with that, let me turn it over to Congressman Menendez, who I thank very much for coming across the river. I know it's an unusual occasion for him.
Thanks, Dan, and appreciate Dan's office for organizing this today. The electeds who are here. It's good to be together with New York on this issue, something we can work together on. And for us, it's pretty simple. This is a safety issue, this is a health issue, and something that impacts all the workers and New Jerseyans who live in close proximity to the river. And so when we think about the challenges that people have had or communities have had the last several years, we want people outdoors. We want people engaging again. We want people using our public spaces. And they should do free. They should be able to do so freely on public uses. That's not necessary, not essential to all people. So we collectively have abandoned a river system water process that has essential air travel. It's not essential air travel. It regulates in a way that's for the health of our communities. That's ultimately what this is all about. So we're going to work together. This isn't just a one-time thing. We've sent 2 letters already. New Jersey has, and both New York and New Jersey have. So this is something that we understand impacts the daily lives of New Jerseyans. Places like Liberty State Park are directly impacted. An urban oasis that gives people a break and all of the noise and challenges they have in these densely populated areas. That's what we're trying to solve. That's what we're trying to lie to so many people that we're beyond representing. So it's an honor to be here today across the river for an issue that impacts both sides of the river. And I have the immense pleasure of
located in my previous district. Now proud to pass the torch to Dan Goldman, who's been an outstanding partner in this issue and on many others. Stop the Chop is here today, and I want to thank them for their steadfast advocacy and vast knowledge of the issue. It helped my staff immensely over the years, and New Yorkers are better off because of them. Over the past decade, our region has seen a massive increase in the numbers of non-essential tourism and commuter helicopters. Our constituents are suffering from the consequences, and helicopter-related noise complaints to 311 have gone up in New York City by over 2,300% in the last 5 years. We know that nearly all tourist flights traversing New York City include the national monuments in their itineraries. Unfortunately, it appears that the proposed voluntary agreements with 1,000-foot setback from the parks for tourist helicopters will only increase the impact of helicopters on New York metropolitan area residents by routing even more helicopters closer to our residential neighborhoods and parks. While visitor experience at the parks is important and should be improved, there's no justification for allowing more tourists to joyride over our residential areas and parks, endangering people below, adding to the heavy burden of noise pollution residents already endure. Residents deserve answers from the FAA and the National Park Service on how this new agreement will impact the quality of life. I look forward to getting those answers, and I also look forward to hopefully passing the legislation that we will shortly reintroduce. Thank you very much.
Borough President Mark Levine.
Thank you.
Manhattan Borough President. We're honored to be joined now by Brooklyn Borough President.
Yes, we are. We got both sides of the East River here. We got both sides of the Hudson River here. This is how we're going to win this fight. Thank you, Congressman Goldman. I'm sorry that it's 2023 and we are still fighting this fight. I wish we had solved this before you got into office, but it is so great to have your energy and your brain power behind this. And great to have you, Congressman Robert Menendez, and of course, the wonderful Jerry Nadler has been an early and consistent champion of this fight. This is sometimes described as a nuisance, which really doesn't do it justice. There have been 30 helicopter crashes since the 80s in New York City. There have been 25 people killed in those crashes. This is absolutely a safety issue. A helicopter produces almost 1,000 pounds of CO2 an hour. What 50 cars would produce. This is absolutely a question of climate change. And yes, it's a quality of life issue, but there's much research which shows that the kind of noise at the level that helicopters generate actually has a mental health and even physical health impact on the people who are subjected to it. And that's especially true in parks, where we go to enjoy the outdoors and maybe even a little bit of peace and quiet. And so many of our parks in Manhattan are directly under the helicopter paths, including this wonderful park here, but Central Park as well, Riverside Park. And for the parks community, this is really one of the #1 priorities. So, complicated issue to solve. We need the city, we need the federal government, we need New Jersey and New York together, we need Manhattan and Brooklyn together. But you got that leadership here today. We're going to make a renewed push. We're going to keep fighting until we address this issue, until we ban non-essential helicopter flights in New York City once and for all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Reynosa.
Yes, thank you. So I am Antonio Reynosa. I'm the president of what I call the greatest borough in the city of New York. No. But we're here joined by members of at least 2 of the best boroughs of the 5 in the city of New York. But happy to have Congressman Bob Menendez here as well. Thank you so much for traversing over a river as I did. I want to thank both Congressman Nadler and Congressman Goldman for being here. And just really want to speak to something that's very simple. I don't want to complicate it here. We can talk about the fact that new agreements are being put in that we're not happy with. The fact that we've taken this long to have any serious conversation or movement related to shutting down the operations of tourists and non-essential flights over the neighborhoods of Brooklyn and Manhattan. I don't care about how complicated it is. I just want it to stop. I want it gone. If the nuisance is a problem, if it is a quality of life issue, I want to solve for it. So I just don't want here to be any technical conversation for me, any negotiations with Blade or whatever organization is running the show. I want it gone. The noise pollution is problematic. And noise pollution for my constituents, and they're complaining about it, they're concerned about it, is enough for me to advocate to do everything in my power to stop the operations of these non-essential flights over my borough. So I'm here to support Stop the Chop, stand with our congressmen and the work that they're doing in the federal government to try to assist my constituents in that effort. And I just want to keep it simple and spread love, because that's the work we're doing. Thank you so much.
All right.
Morning, I'm Andy Rosenthal, president of Stop the Chop. I want to thank Congressman Goldman and all the other important congressional and local electeds here for joining us at this event. For too many years, millions of New Yorkers have been subject to non-essential helicopter noise pollution. Our local representatives know well that this is one of the top issues that their constituents complain about. 311 complaints hit record levels last year and are still trending upward this year. Less than 1% of the tourists visiting New York take a helicopter ride. The National Park Service should comply with the National Parks Air Tour Management Act of 2000 and aggressively reduce the negative impacts of joyrides over New York Harbor as mandated by Congress over 20 years ago and ordered by the U.S. Court of Appeals in 2020. The recently issued commercial air voluntary agreements fall far short of the intent of Congress and fall far short of what the National Park Service is implementing in 23 other parks. New York Harbor was virtually the only park without a ban or cap on the number of flights. It was also one of the few without time curfews. The new mandated flight paths, as we've heard, are pushing the helicopter traffic closer to the residents and parks of New York and New Jersey. This is going to desecrate parks that the citizens have spent billions of dollars building. Brooklyn Bridge Park, this park that we're standing in now, Hudson River Park, and the New Jersey parks, Liberty State Park. We've invested billions. New York is the economic capital of the world, but true capitalism, businesses must pay for the externalities they cost. These operators do not pay for their externalities. They create enormous suffering for personal profit. The minuscule fees that New York City and the Hudson River Park receive in no way reflect the long-term cost of even maintaining the piers. I won't go into the negative impacts they've been talked about. The good news is this is one of the world's most easily solved problems. Pete Buttigieg, the FAA should give New York area a no-fly zone like it did Disney World and Disneyland after the 9/11 attacks. Disneyland and Disney World would not have lobbied for that if it was good for business. Deb Haaland, the National Park Service must rewrite these voluntary plans and put in place numerical caps and curfews in line with other parks. Additionally, Mayor Adams and the City Council could shut the 2 East River heliports tomorrow. We asked them to do so. And lastly, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul could shut the heliport that's operating in the park we're standing in on West 30th Street within 30 days. They have the ability to do that, and we ask them to do that. It's time for our government to work for the 99%. Thank you.
All right. Finally, Stacey Schub from the Seaport Coalition.
Yes, the Seaport Coalition, also representing Children First, Save Our Seaport, and 1,700 families at Southbridge Towers. For those of us who've lived to 9/11, who stayed on to rebuild, the families who've relocated to the historic South Street Seaport to raise families, seniors looking to scale back, we all deserve to enjoy our communities. We don't need the incessant noise, pollution, and vibration that comes from low-flying, non-essential helicopters. We deal with enough already. We really do not need more. These flights benefit only the privileged few helicopter occupants and the tour company operators, all at the expense of the people who are trying to work from home, put their kids down for a nap, the elderly, the sunbathers, neighborhood people just trying to enjoy the waterfront or have a dinner on the cobblestones. It's impossible to escape on a sunny day. It's unbearably noisy on overcast days, and the vibrations are nerve-wracking when helicopters hover, swoop, and circle to get that perfect photo of a sunset by the bridge. If tourists really want to experience New York up close, get out of the helicopters in the sky, take a ferry, visit Lady Liberty, ride a bike on Governor's Island, eat at the restaurants and spend your money at the shops by the historic South Street Seaport, or just take a quiet walk along the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. Do you want to? All right.
I appreciate that. I'm Dave Petrowski. I'm representing Assemblymember Robert Carroll, who represents parts of Brooklyn, Park Slope, Windsor Terrace. We have constituents calling the office every day complaining about helicopters. I'm very grateful to Congressman Goldman, Congressman Menendez, and the other elected officials and for their efforts. And the Assemblymember is working at a state level as well to stop these unnecessary fights. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And it is, what you're seeing here is real unity among, city, state, federal officials, between boroughs, between states, and this is something that really needs to be addressed. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. Hi, this is mainly for Menendez. I'm Mark from the Jersey Journal. It seems that some of the problems that come from helicopters, that a lot of helicopter ports are based out of Kearney. There's like a place near where they have the vac center. Do you think there's going to be like any kind of solution on how to deal with that kind of situation? Because it seems like the helicopters come from there and fly directly over Jersey City.
Yeah, so we have to come up with a holistic approach, right, that looks at all the non-essential helicopter traffic, where it originates from and what its paths on. So we have to address it from which angle. Today is mainly about the flight patterns that the federal government agreed to through the NPS and FAA. But we're going to look at it in every instance, from every angle, and make sure that we produce the best results for all of our constituents and neighbors.
I see. Just more questions that I have. Is there any updates from any other officials over across the river that have been in touch with you about the stuff regarding the helicopters, like Jersey City or Hoboken?
Sorry, what was that?
Just like any other officials, like in Jersey City or Hoboken.
Yeah, listen, it's a challenge for everyone, right? At the local level, county level, state level, and clearly the federal level. So we're going to work with all of our stakeholders to get this right and to get it done and produce the best results for all of our constituents.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, Dan, for choosing the coldest.